All right, so here's the setup for making the masks. I have two plaster molds. You put plastic on top of these. I have a small and a large, and just some covers here. And the trick here is you're just going to grab a piece of plastic, drawer here, come over, put it on top of the mold, and then just put this frame around it. And got some clamps. The clamps have a rubber side. Please put the rubber side down underneath so it doesn't melt. The top side of this will get exposed to the infrared heat, infrared light. I'm trying to do this all with one hand. Okay, there we go. That's it. So you've just got the plastic on there. Coming out the back of this mold are, I don't know if you can see that there, PVC pipes. I can't do that. All right, so the PVC pipes come out the back and then come up to the house vacuum here. The house vacuum, the yellow line there is down below the back, the bench here. So when it comes time, once the plastic is soft, you're going to turn this on. Okay, so we're going to heat up the plastic with this heater that I have propped up. I don't think I can do this with one hand, so let me mount the camera. Okay. So put this down. Now the molds have these insert pieces. These are just to make the mask shorter so that the opening is wider. Done. And there it is. Okay, now we have to go and trim it out. I have a hot knife over here for cutting out the opening. We'll do that next. So this is the form I just printed. I have these 3D forms that I use. This was actually what I made the plaster mold from. And this is something I made so that you can trace these. And in fact, what I find is nice is you just take this form and you stick it underneath it, and it holds it nicely in place. And then you can just trace it out. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to trim this out with a hot X-Acto knife, basically. All right, so sitting in the hood over here is the X-Acto knife. So this gets nice and hot, and then I found this makes a much nicer cut. Nice thing is you're less likely to slip. If you just use a regular cold X-Acto knife, I found it's really difficult to get a nice clean cut. Just follow along your tracing. And since this edge is where you want the filter to seal, you don't want it to be messed up by having miscut it. So you can see how nicely that cuts. But again, it's time consuming, so making a bunch of masks takes a little while. All right, so there we go. Not perfect, but good enough. Okay, at this point, you can trim out this. If this is going to be a single ply mask, then just trim these out, and then we'll glue in the filter here. If you want to make a double ply mask where the filter sits on top here and another layer goes on top, actually the best way to do that is to put this back in the mold. So we've come back to the mold here. And you take your mask that you've just cut out and you put it back in the mold. And then you get another piece of plastic, put it right on top, and then heat this and suck it into the first form. The reason you want to do this is if you want these two forms to be really tight against one another, this guarantees that the two of them will follow each other really nicely. If you took two of these by themselves, they wouldn't perfectly fit together. If you think about like solo cups, the bottom of one solo cup doesn't touch the bottom of the other solo cup. And that's basically where we need these two bottom edges to be touching each other perfectly. There's no geometrical way to have two of these identical forms smushed together perfectly because of the thickness of the plastic and everything. There's always going to be a gap at the bottom. But if you do it this way, and you actually mold it into place, you can make the double ply with that way. All right. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and make these as single ply masks, so I'm going to cut these out. Trace this, we know where to cut. I find these metal shears are really nice for this. Particularly if you do the double ply ones, you can cut out two of the forms at the same time. Actually, I can probably do this too. I'm not going to do it just in case they're slightly different from each other. Trim them down. And then go. Now I'm going to punch holes in these. This tool is for grommets. It also has hole punching, so I don't know if you can see that. The hole punches are here, and over here there are two sizes. There's a larger one on this side. It's 3/16, I believe, and so you just put that here, punch that out. All right, so now you can stop there and you can actually put the elastic band right through these holes. I kind of like to, just for the fun of it, put on these grommets. So if you want to use the grommets, we have plenty of grommets. All right, the grommets come in two pieces. There's the front side, and you just push those through. And then there's the back side. Oops. The back piece goes on, and then you take the grommet tool, and there are two sides to it, I don't know if you can see that. The longer side, the larger side comes in from the bottom here. And you just squeeze it together and it locks it in place. This thing has a little safety lock mechanism in it, so you can lock it closed. Sometimes it shifts and you don't notice it. So if it's not opening and closing for you, just check this little lock piece here. Do the others. All right. So there we go. All right, so next we need the filter. The filters that we're using here are these. It says that it should block viruses. It goes down to 3 micron size, and studies show that you're able to, even though the coronavirus is smaller than 3 microns, the actual mechanism of the filter is such that it traps things that are smaller than 3 microns. So I've taken some of the filter out from this. So the filter has 2 sides to it and has a fuzzy side and a smoother side. This fuzzy side is very fragile, and so you're probably going to want the smooth side to be on the outside. Now I have these things that I 3D printed that give you the size. You can see this whole process is pretty time consuming. So making a lot of these masks, you know, if you had several people working on different parts of it, that would help tremendously. Okay, so now, all right, so if this is a single ply mask like this one, what I normally do is I put the filter in here, and then I tack it into place with a glue gun. And then I run a bead of glue all around the inside edge so that no air can get in through around the edges. Alternatively, if you like, if you want to do a double ply mask, you can apply glue that's tack it over and over around the outside, let it dry, do the same for the filter, put a bead around and let that dry as well, and then you can squish the 2 of them together. And in fact, it's helpful at that point to grab this form. You can put it there, and then you can find a surface, and you can push it down into place. For what I'm doing right now, I'm just going to do a single ply mask, and I'm just going to put the filter inside here. Okay, something I forgot to mention is when you cut these, the small ones only need about 3 of these folds, and the larger size uses about 4 of those folds. Okay, so now I'm going to glue the filter in. So first thing I'm going to do is just hold it in place and tack it in a couple of places. Oops. By the way, this is actually nice. This is a low temperature glue gun. The higher temperature ones will melt the plastic itself. Pretty messy, lots of little strands. So I'm just putting the filter roughly into place. Okay, And so now the filter is held in place. I can go ahead and run a bead around the whole thing. So I'm just kind of pushing down in the middle so it makes a kind of a nice seal on this side. And now I can go ahead and just like your caulking a bathtub, a shower, you just run a bead around the inside edge here. This is still pretty hot, so try not to get it on you. It's pretty good. So you could run the glue around here as well, but I think sealing the inside edge is good enough. So once it's cooled off a little bit, just go back and pull out all the little strands and see if there are places where you miss, like I missed over here. So just come back in. Don't be shy with the glue. I have lots more glue here. It's not expensive. You can pick that up if you run out. You can pick it out up at Staples or anywhere. All right, there we go. Now obviously if you're making masks for other people, please wear your own mask when you're making masks for other people. Particularly when you're dealing with the filter paper, keep it in the bag and wear your mask when you're doing that. Okay, so the next step is to put the foam insert in here to seal your nose. We've got this foam, vinyl foam. Just cut off, I measured out some tape that's the right length. So use this is the larger size mask, so we'll use about that much. Just roughly cut it the right length. And then the trick here is you want this to taper nicely at the edges. So this side is actually the sticky side, and that's going to go on the inside. And I want to taper it so that the side with the paper is actually shorter. So I'm gonna put it on an angle there. I don't know if you can see that. So you can see it's kind of tapering away. I didn't do the best job in the world, but it's foam and it's pretty forgiving, so it seals your face pretty well. Let me get that a little bit better. Okay, there we go. And peel that off. That's the side, that's the unsticky side. That's the side that goes against your face. So bend that over. This is the sticky side. And then put in there. And you can readjust this if you need to. If it's too long, you can cut it. It's maybe a bit long. Just squeeze it in place. And that should be good. And so it's kind of tapered there. Sometimes it'll leak in these cracks in the corners here. So this is where you kind of have to futz with it and just make sure that you're not leaking out there. All right. Next, we put on the elastic band. I have plenty of elastic band. I've already cut some lengths here of band. You want these to be about 40 inches at least. So I made a mark on the counter over here. So there's already some cut in here. You can just pull them out, or you can cut yourself your own. You can choose white or black. All right. Now, so You can choose how you want to thread these. It's up to you. I personally like to do it this way. I actually leave this on the inside, and what I found is that this seals against your face just fine. Despite the fact that this is crossing over the seal, I haven't found any air leaking out. You do want it to be twisted the right way. Okay, so I have it like that. There would be no harm in doing it the other way. I used to do it that way too. I think it looks a bit nicer this way. All right, up to you. All right, now, so this is going to go over your head. This is going to go back behind your neck. A nice way to seal it behind your neck is I 3D printed these. I found this on Thingiverse. They call this a jam clasp. So I just 3D printed a bunch of these. All you do is thread pull it through there, and when you adjust the length, you just find the length you want, and then you just pull it down in tight, and it locks it into place. And then you can just push it back out if you want to readjust it. So it's really nice for adjusting it quickly. So I put one side through there, and then I just tie out the end so that it can't come out. All right, there you go. All right, I'm going to save this one. I'll show you how the one I'm wearing right now. I put the one I'm wearing on right now. So to wear the mask, you just put the bottom part on over your head first. I have the jam clasp as far as it can go. And then you just pull this up over your head. Yeah, I know it looks dorky. All right, so then you just take the elastic in the back, and you can pull it tight and jam it in place. And then you'll want to adjust it top and bottom so that it's evenly tensioned. Put your hand over it. I don't feel any air coming in or out around the sides. And that's it. All right, some general comments about all of this. Please, when you're done with this, please put these back on just to keep them from getting dusty. Make sure that these little pieces are still in there. I also have a little fan here. It's battery operated. You can set it going. You can put it up here blowing down on the form. If you're making a lot of masks and this is getting very hot, just cool it off in between. Of course, you can make two different types of masks, so you can go back and forth as you like. When you're done with everything for the day, please put everything back in the hood. Make sure the heater is off. Make sure the hot knife is turned off, and then you can turn off the main power for it. And then you can turn off the light to the hood there. Make sure you've turned the vacuum off. That should have been off, but let's make sure it's off. So just to point out, we have a lot of plastic here. So there's a big pile of plastic down here. This is 100 sheets. I don't know how many are left here. Probably 50 or so. Feel free to make as many masks as you like. Give them away. The more people wearing these, the better. You'll want to sterilize your mask in between uses. I throw it in an oven at 175 degrees for about 40-45 minutes. Make sure you preheat the oven first so that it doesn't melt the masks. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.